Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this online session in the EU Sustainable Energy Week. My name is Stefan Vergoten. I am a senior advisor in DG Klima in the European Commission. And we have a fascinating topic today in our session of 1.5 hours dealing with the Innovation Fund. We have also an important set of speakers. But first, before we go into the agenda, a few words of introduction. As you may know, the Innovation Fund is the EU's flagship program, innovative clean tech solutions towards market readiness. And it is financed by the sale of 450 million allowances under the ETS, in the phase 4 of the ETS, in total over the period 2021-2030. So with the current carbon prices, this means that we would have available for the next 10 years a total amount of approximately 25 billion euros to really spur the innovation in a number of areas towards market readiness. The Innovation Fund has been set up in the last couple of years in close collaboration with CINEA, the executive agency on climate, infrastructure and energy, and also in close collaboration with the European Investment Bank, who provides important advisory services. And of course, member states are also involved in the preparation of this program. The Innovation Fund is now operational since 1 year. We have finalized the first call for small-scale projects. So we are now in a situation that we can actually take stock of where we stand and to see also a bit into the future how the program will develop in the future. In terms of the agenda, we have 1.5 hours. The first speaker will be Roman Dubrava, who will give an overview of the results of the fund's first small-scale call. So very interesting to see how it works in practice and what the results are. Then we have 2 speakers from the European Investment Bank relating to project development assistance for clean tech projects and also on financially advisory support that the EIB can provide. Then we will also have a speaker from a member state, from Estonia, Kaja Traier, who will give us more insights on how member states work in order to help project promoters and investors to get the best, to get their projects forward. And finally, and last but not least, I would say we will have an example of a successful project that was awarded in the first small-scale call from Saint-Gobain. Emmanuel Abt will speak about his experiences in developing his project under the Innovation Fund. You will all have the possibility to ask questions via Slido. You see the code on the screen. So after the presentations, we will have the opportunity to have a discussion and have your questions raised with the speakers. So very much looking forward to this very interesting program, and I would like to give the floor now to Roman Dubrava, who is head of unit of the Innovation Fund unit in CINEA. He has also worked quite extensively inside DG Klima before in the development of this program. So very much looking forward to Roman's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy to be in this session today. Very timely, I must say, since we are able to announce the first results of the first ever call under the Innovation Fund for small-scale projects. I will try in 15 minutes to walk you through the key issues and the key setup elements of the fund, and then present the first results and a couple of recommendations that may be useful for your future applications under the Innovation Fund. I'm trying to move the slides, but it doesn't seem to work. Okay. So the Innovation Fund, what is it about? It is, as Stefan mentioned, a financing instrument that is funded through the EU ETS allowances. We are focusing on projects. We are supporting projects that are innovative, that are impactful in terms of significant greenhouse gas emissions avoidance during their operation. And we are also obviously looking for projects that are mature enough to reach their financial close within 4 years after the grant is being awarded. On the screen, you can see the sectors that the Innovation Fund is covering, or areas that we are covering. As you can see, it is quite wide. We are covering innovative renewable energy. That includes also manufacturing facilities for products and components. We are covering carbon capture, use and storage, energy-intensive industries, decarbonization, and this also includes the substitute products and also energy storage technologies that, again, may include manufacturing facilities for components. What is important to mention here is as well that many of the projects that we have seen are actually bringing in interesting combinations and linkages between these sectors, like the use of renewable energy in energy-intensive industries, carbon capture and use and storage in industry, usage of hydrogen in transport, or incorporation of energy storage solutions in mobility sector. So this is the quite wide coverage of the Innovation Fund. And if you move to the next slide and look at the key features of the fund, so the volume of the Innovation Fund at the carbon price of 50 euros per ton of CO2 is 25 billion euros, and this amount will be disbursed by 2030. We are launching annual calls, both for large and for small-scale projects. Large-scale projects are those with the capital expenditure above 7.5 million euros. Small-scale are those that are below. For large-scale projects, we can finance up to 60% of additional capital expenditure and operating costs during the 10 years of the operation of these projects. For small-scale projects, we are covering up to 60% of their capital expenditure. This is the fund which disburses its support in the form of a lump sum contributions. These lump sum contributions are paid out once the projects meet their milestones and deliver their work packages, their tasks that they set themselves in their applications. And we can finance up to 40% of these resources at or before the financial close, and the rest, at least 60%, is then provided after the financial close, partially during the construction, and then over the operation of 10 years for large-scale projects or 3 years for small-scale projects. We have the possibility here under the Innovation Fund that a single applicant can apply, so we are not requesting consortia. Nevertheless, what we have seen that many applications are actually partnerships between different market operators. They are setting up their own business structures, their special purpose vehicles, or they are financing their projects on the company balance sheet. So this is up to the applicants, up to you, how you set up your business and how you apply in which form to the Innovation Fund. And for those projects that are prospective but not mature enough, so those that fail the project maturity criterion, there we are also in cooperation with the European Investment Bank, providing the project development assistance, which will be addressed later on by two speakers after me. We can move to the next slide, please. Okay, so small-scale projects call, the key facts. You can see on the screen the deadline for submission under the small-scale projects was 10th of March 2021. We are now in the stage of concluding the first grant agreements with the selected projects. The volume of the call was 100 million euros. We have received 232 proposals, out of which 175 were admissible and eligible. This is maybe interesting, and I will get back to this in my slide on the recommendations, because more than 50 projects actually failed already at the admissibility and eligibility, and maybe this is something to consider when you are putting your application together. Under the Innovation Fund, we have quite a rigorous evaluation process. we ask our experts hired from the market to assess these projects as any other investment banker would do, because we are, as I said before, willing to support projects that are not only interesting, innovative, and impactful, but also mature enough to deliver on the market. So we have two greenhouse gas emission experts, two technical experts, and two financial experts who are assessing each and every application. We have 5 selection criteria based on which the projects are assessed: the degree of innovation, the greenhouse gas emissions avoidance, project maturity, that includes implementation maturity and financial maturity. We have the criterion for scalability, which is looking at the growth potential of the projects in the future. And we have cost efficiency criteria, which in simplified terms assesses how much does it cost to reduce greenhouse gas emissions on the ground. And as I said, the grant support to the projects is provided in the form of lump sum contributions. There are no pre-financing in the Innovation Fund, but we are able to cover up to 40% of the projects at the financial close or before it, upon delivery of the tasks that the promoter is putting itself in the application at those milestones. So this is a milestone-based financing approach. We are financing the projects in their own pace. How the milestones are set, the work packages are set, is up to the promoters. We have some milestones which are mandatory, such as the financial close, such as entry into operation, and such as those related to reporting during their operation. But applicants are able to come up with additional, for instance, construction period milestones as they see fit in relation to the size, in relation to complexity, or the market fundamentals upon which they are operating. Next slide, please. So let's have a quick look on how the first results of the small-scale call look like. So out of those projects eligible and admissible, 32 were selected that are being disbursed 118 million euros. They are covering quite nicely 14 different sectors and 12 member states. You can see on the map the distribution of the projects per their type, per their sector. The most successful countries in this call were France, Spain, and Sweden. And we are covering quite a wide range of solutions and technologies on the ground, from renewable energy through industries to energy storage and carbon capture and storage. Next slide, please. Now let's have a look to how does it look when we are looking into different sectors or areas. Here you can see how successful the project applications from renewable energy, energy-intensive industry, and energy storage were. You see the distribution among those 3 key areas. And then on the right-hand side, this represents the key technological pathways in the successful 32 projects. You see that we had quite some applications in energy storage. Hydrogen production or use was also quite successful sector. We had quite some projects in renewable energy and also in the other sectors, as you can see on the slide. Next slide, please. Here we have an overview of energy-intensive industry, so one of those sectors. Now you see that out of 85 eligible and admissible projects, 13 were successful. Nearly all sectors succeeded to get a project after the evaluation, except of cement and lime and other sectors which did not make it. And the success rate for this project, so 13 out of 85, is 15%. Next slide, please. We have tried to look into how these projects actually contribute to the Green Deal. And you will see on my last slide some numbers. But here we wanted to show you what actual solutions these projects are bringing, because this is all about decarbonization. This is all about bringing in innovative solutions, market-ready solutions. And what we have seen and witnessed is that many of these projects actually relate to reuse, to sustainability, to circularity. And across the different sectors, as you can see on these pictograms and on these slides, we have quite a variety of innovative solutions and products that these projects are bringing on the market, whether it is in iron and steel, whether this is in non-ferrous metals, pulp and paper chemicals, and so on. On the right-hand side, you can see the keywords in the previous slide of the key highlights of these projects. This represents, based on the explanations of these projects, what actually are the elements that are relevant to the Green Deal. And you see here that all of these projects not only significantly decarbonize their processes and products, but also bringing in very innovative solutions and technologies. Next slide, please. If we look to renewable energy, again, we have quite a good and balanced mixture of technologies. Out of 57 admissible and eligible projects, 10 were selected at the end. And all sectors except of hydro or ocean energy made it to the final scoring with a success rate of 18%. Next slide, please. Again, the same representation of how these projects are innovative or bringing their solutions and contribute to the Green Deal. You can see quite an interesting solutions mentioned on the slide for wind energy, solar energy, biofuels, biorefineries, and renewable heating and cooling. And again, on the right-hand side, this represents the key elements, the key highlights of these projects, why, in fact, they were selected, what were the solutions, why they were innovative, and based on which their greenhouse gas emission avoidance is being delivered. Next slide, please. In energy storage, this was the sector with the highest success rate, if you like. Out of 33, 9 projects were selected. And we have, again, quite a good representation of intraday electricity and other energy storage solutions. Next slide, please. And again, similar representation of the relevance of these technologies for the Green Deal. You can see quite a variety of solutions from vehicles to grid, through virtual power plants, down to applications for mobility, shipping, and aviation, which is very interesting. And we are keen to see more of these applications coming in the future. Next slide, please. Now I would like to present a few slides about the lessons learned, what we have seen in these applications, what were the key issues that may be important for you if you are applying in the next calls. As I said, more than 50 projects didn't make it already at the eligibility and admissibility stage. So this is the first stage where the agency is checking whether the proposals are complete, whether they include all the information as requested by the call. And here a few recommendations. Start well on time when you are preparing your project. Read carefully all the requirements, because this is quite a complex call. It is quite complex on purpose, because it is not a research program. The Innovation Fund is supporting projects that will have to make it on the market. So it's important that all the methodologies and requirements related to the Innovation Fund are understood and read well. Do not wait until last day for your submission. Follow the Innovation Fund methodologies and templates, as I mentioned. Be realistic in your assumptions and calculations. This was one of the key issues. I'll come back to this when presenting the financial maturity. What we have seen many times that the proposals lacked the consistency of the claims, of the numbers, of calculations, projections, and so on across the different project documents. And this is an important issue to ensure. So we would recommend that you have always somebody who will walk through the finalized application, ensuring that the consistency is there. And last but not least, generic recommendation, the risk analysis is a requirement under the Innovation Fund. And this is one of the issues which is very thoroughly looked at by the evaluators. You are asked to provide very thorough and good analysis of your risks and on your mitigation measures, which again need to be realistic, which need to be tuned to market practice, to your market standards, that should reflect the expectations, but on the other hand, as well, the capacity of the applicant to address issues that you may be facing when the project is being rolled out. Okay, next slide. Now, if we look into the different award criteria, I have only picked few because of the time constraint, but we had a webinar last week where we presented a very thorough analysis of the first small-scale call. So I would invite you to review the video, which is available on our website, with the full slide deck, with the full analysis and full set of recommendations. Here, only few. So on the criterion on greenhouse gas emission calculations, the greenhouse gas emissions avoidance, we have a specific greenhouse gas emissions calculation methodology. So all applicants are required to follow that methodology. And also, all applicants need to use the calculation tool which is provided as part of the call documentation. We have tried to make it user-friendly and readable, and we are improving the tool also based on the lessons learned. So please have a very good look into that and follow the template, follow the methodology. On the degree of innovation criterion, this is a criterion where the projects are compared to their state of the art, because what we are looking at is whether the project is innovative, whether it goes beyond the state of the art, and whether it goes beyond incremental innovation. And again, in the call text, there is a specific guidance on this criterion, explanations and definitions. So please have a very good look into that. On scalability, this is a criterion where we are looking into future potential of the project at the site, at the regional level, at the level of the sector, and at the level of the economy, the possibility, for instance, to create new value chains in the EU. So again, here, the onus is on presenting what is your expectations when it comes to future expansion of the project, the future potential on the market. So please have a very good look into your IPR, in your licensing possibilities, and please underpin all your claims when it comes to future growth with analysis, with calculations, whether it is related to cost reductions, whether it is related to greenhouse gas emissions. Try to avoid the greenwashing claims. We have seen quite many in the first call where applicants were claiming huge growth potential, but without very strong underpinning arguments or analysis. On the implementation maturity, this is a criterion where technical maturity is included. We have seen, and this requires, for instance, the presentation of the implementation plan of the project. So how, when, by whom, and what parts of the projects will be done on the ground. So please have a very good look into this, because it's important that your implementation plan is solid, is sound, is realistic, and is consistent with the possibilities, with expectations, with costs, with the requirements that you may face, for instance, related to licensing, permitting, and so on. And again, underpin any information that you provide with evidence, with calculations, with a very good analysis. Okay, next slide. Now I would like to, and if you could click twice, please. Thank you.
Roman, if I can come in, if you could speed up a bit so that we have sufficient time for everybody.
Yes. So here again, I will not go into details. You can read the recommendations on the slide yourself. But on the financial maturity, again, the onus of the evaluation and assessment is the solidity of your business plan, of your business model, the solidity of your calculations, of your projections, of your expectations when it comes to costs and revenues. So please take good care in reading the guidance and reading the requirements. We have a specific calculation tools for the relevant costs. We have specific tools for you. You are requested to provide a full financial model, for instance, and the financial model summary sheet, and they need to reflect the riskiness of your project, the setup of your project, the expectations on funding, and the commitment and readiness, in fact, for your project to be funded as expected in the future, whether this is coming from private or public sectors. Next slide, please. So, in conclusion, just a few highlights on the first call. As said, we have received 32 projects. Now we are in the stage of concluding their grant agreements. They claim to deliver more than 40 million tons of CO2 emissions avoided over the years of their operation. This includes one huge project, as we call it, outlier, with 36 million tons of CO2. When it comes to investments triggered with 118 million from the Innovation Fund, these projects should lead to total investment of over 1 billion. So this is quite significant leverage that these projects are promising to bring. And again, when it comes to the future, the next, and I will show this on the next slide, please. What are the next steps? We are now preparing the next large-scale call, which should be online as of next week, 26th of October, with the deadline in March 22, with a budget of 1.5 billion. The next small-scale projects call is planned for spring of 22, sometimes in March, with a deadline in August 22, and the volume of funding of 100 million euros. So please have a look at our websites, follow the webinars, or review the videos that we have recorded for you, and get ready for these calls. And here, the two events that we are organizing. On the 4th of November, the first 3 projects under the small-scale call will be signed at the COP26 side event. And on the 10th of November, we are planning the webinar, the info day about the large-scale call with all the details about the call. So please join us, follow us on our website, and we are very happy. We will be very happy to see many, many new and interesting projects joining. I hope I didn't shoot over too much, Steph. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Roman, and thank you for this excellent overview. It's really marvelous to see the richness of the portfolio of the projects that are in the pipeline. That's great. It's also, we also see a good geographic distribution. It's also something that I think we could even work. We will try, of course, to expand even further, but already a great start, I would say. Of course, the competition is strong in this program. So also very good advice to project promoters in order to prepare their projects to the best of their abilities. So thank you very much. And with that, we will go to the next speaker, which is Zoran Stanic. Zoran Stanic is the head of Innovation Fund Unit in the EIB. He works in the Energy Department, the Renewable Energy Division of the European Investment Bank, and he will present the role of the European Investment Bank in providing project development assistance to clean tech projects, and also touch upon synergies between the Innovation Fund and other financing products. Zoran, the floor is yours.
Hello, good morning, everyone. So my name is Zoran Stanic. I'm from European Investment Bank. I'm head of Innovation Fund Unit. And before taking that role, I was working in the EIB for 10 years on energy investment projects as an energy specialist engineer. So I'm very happy to have a chance here to use my experience, same as my colleagues in EIB who are working on this great initiative, to support Innovation Fund project development assistance. In this presentation, I will present first shortly about EIB and where exactly project development assistance fits into the overall EIB work. Then I'll provide a little bit of objective of the structure of the project development assistance. And finally, I'll give you a little bit of preliminary results, as we are now really in the beginning of this very exciting journey. So let me start with the EIB. Next slide, please. Okay, as you may be aware, and I'm sure you are, European Investment Bank is really transforming itself into the climate bank. We have issued our climate bank roadmap, which is very ambitious, and which actually calls for ambitious target that 50% of our all financing goes to climate action and environmental sustainability by 2025, which means supporting around 1 trillion of investments for climate action and environmental sustainability by 2030. As you know, all our operations are already more or less they are aligned with Paris Agreement. And by the end of this year, we are really stopping financing all fossil fuels projects. So we made that transition already in our energy lending policy, which was adopted a few years ago. And now also with the Climate Bank roadmap, it's even more emphasized. Next slide, please. So where does Innovation Fund Project Development Assistance fits? So this is part of EIB so-called advisory services or technical assistance, which we do quite a lot for various mandates. Some of the most well-known are, for example, Jaspers, which is probably one of the oldest. Then Elena, which supports local public authorities in energy efficiency and small renewables. Then we have Advisory Hub. So we have quite a number of advisory services. So we believe that by using these synergies, we can well connect our know-how of advisory in general with the specific objectives of this project development assistance. Apart from, of course, advisory services, our main business is providing loans. So we do loans, guarantees, hybrids, co-financing with financial instruments with the European Commission, like you know, FC, Innofin, InvestEU. And we, of course, hope that some of these projects, which are supported by the Innovation Fund, will also come to our finance. So we think there is a very strong synergy and very good link between EIB finance and grants that we'll get through the Innovation Fund. EIB has quite experience in financing emerging technologies and innovative projects. Like 10 years ago, or maybe even more, we started to finance offshore wind farms. In that time, it was very risky technology and almost no banks were willing to finance these projects. We took that risk and we basically more or less developed the sector from the start. Similarly, we financed a lot of concentrated solar power projects in Spain, in South Africa, in different countries, now more recently in Morocco, and other emerging technology which we helped to develop further. Similarly, we financed also projects in heavy industry. Recently, we financed a battery factory in Europe. So we have quite a good experience in taking this innovation risks when thinking about how to finance these projects. So we believe that by having this experience, we are well positioned actually to use this in developing this project development assistance. Next slide, please. Where does this fit in terms of project preparation? It can actually be in various stages. We can cover different aspects of the technical assistance from upstream until the implementation of the project. In this particular case, I believe will be more towards the implementation and preparation because the project should be already to a certain extent ready to get project development assistance. Next slide, please. So our role is defined basically by the delegated regulation. And as it says, project development assistance is implemented by financial and technical experts of EIB. It can also be with support from external consultants. So we have a very strong expertise in various sectors that were mentioned in previous presentation by Roman. So as we finance that kind of projects, both in energy and industry. And we hope that we can, of course, use this expertise to help projects to be better prepared and to be more mature. And the reason why we are doing this, of course, is to help accelerate the structuring and financing of these high-quality projects. Next slide, please. This is also from the regulation. Just example of things which can be supported by the project development assistance. So in general, development of the project documentation, assessment of the feasibility of the project, financial advice in terms of, for example, financial modeling and business plan, and generally capacity building of the project proponent. Next slide, please. Then I think it's quite important that you understand in general the roles and the process. So this is basically how the things are done for PDA. So there are three main actors. As Roman mentioned, it's of course CINEA, EIB, and European Commission. CINEA actually selects the projects based on their own criteria, which are eligible for project development assistance, and then also indicates potential subjects, topics for the PDA. We receive these so-called eligible projects, and then we assess them once again, based basically on their potential to improve their maturity through the PDA. We prepare the shortlist, and then we send it to European Commission, who reviews and approves these shortlisted projects and issued their decision. First decision was issued by the end of July. So there are already, we went through this process once for the large scale call. After this decision is made, we start signing so-called PDA agreements with the promoters of selected projects. So this is exactly where we are now. We are now in the negotiation phase, and we are about to sign a number of, actually we are preparing these 15 agreements at the moment with selected projects. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in the next slides. Next slide, please. So in general, project development assistance is a two-step approach. The first one is PDA award decision. As I explained, Commission issues this decision based on the CINEA and our own assessment. And then there is a project development assistance execution. This comes afterwards, starts from the signature of PDA agreements, and then it can take around 6 months for provision of advisory support to the beneficiaries, to the project, basically. Next one, please. So what is really the process of the screening? As I said, we review the projects which were rejected basically by CINEA for receiving the grants, but they have good potential to be improved through PDA. We base our review on the gaps identified by CINEA evaluation report. However, we also shortlist the project. So we basically screen this list prepared by CINEA, and we try to identify those projects which have the best potential to be improved through the PDA. So it's important to say here that we don't, let's say, support all projects. We still make a selection because, of course, because we have limited funds and we want to support really the projects which have the best potential to be improved through the PDA. Then, as I said, those shortlisted projects are submitted to the Commission, and then Commission is following its own process, including consultation with the member states, and issued a decision. So these are the main steps in the PDA award. The next slide, please. Here you can see this is actually iconographic with both PDA awarded to 15 projects for the large scale call. This is in blue. And as Roman explained also, there is also in green small scale projects invited for grant preparation. So here you have both on one slide. If we just concentrate on the PDA, this is blue icons, you can see the geographical distribution, which is, in my opinion, quite okay. especially for the first round. In total, as we said, there are 15 projects. Next slide, please. In terms of sectors, we have 3 projects from hydrogen, 3 projects from biofuels, refineries and biorefineries, and then storage is quite well represented, 5 projects in total. We have 1 project on CO2 transport and storage, and then 3 from other sectors, including industry and even transport sectors. Next slide, please. So from this, this is the real, let's say, examples of the PDA assistance. From this call, we will support selected projects potentially through the following specific studies. So this is, for example, independent technology assessment. So this is more on the technical side. Financial modeling, business model, these are more on the financial side. Then strategy development and market studies, which combine basically both technical and financial support. So here you can see really examples of the first call support through the PDA. And we, of course, hope to further expand and find additional, let's say, very useful studies that we can support and make sure that the projects get better through this support. Next slide, please. So we have some initial experience. We are very early, this is the beginning of the 3 years process or journey, if you wish. So we are learning by doing. We, of course, are improving our procedures and our approach every day through interactions with the promoters, through interactions with CINEA, with the European Commission. But what can I say for now is that, as I explained, project development assistance targets the gaps in the innovation fund applications, which means that it should help promoters to develop further the project, whether it can be used for the next applications or in general for the project, let's say, getting finance. As I said, some projects have limited potential to be improved by PDA through various reasons. It can be all kinds of weaknesses that cannot be easily addressed or improved through the PDA. For selected large-scale call projects, so far we had a very good experience from our initial contacts with the promoters. We had very intense period in the last 2 months. We spoke and we are in close and very intense negotiations with all of them. We hope to sign agreements, advisory service agreements very soon, and a number of them already by the end of this month. So we are progressing quite well with that. Then we, of course, once we sign these agreements, we will start working on that in cooperation with our external consultants. We already contracted. We are refining also the final scope through the work with the promoters and also with the consultants. And what we also observed, which is important perhaps to emphasize, is that we base our assessment on the application documentation, which happened actually 6 or 9 months before we are actually starting to discuss with the promoters. So there are a number of changes that we are now addressing together with the promoters, and we are, of course, taking that into account in the final PDA scope. So all in all, so far we are very satisfied with the current status. How is this going? We are very happy to be in the position to support this great initiative, and of course looking forward to work further with the European Commission, with CINEA, and with, of course, the industry, which is the main beneficiary of this initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zoran, for outlining the services that the EIB is providing in the context of the Innovation Fund and to further help project promoters to come with mature and successful projects to the Innovation Fund. One important element that I think was also stressed by Zoran is that this is not a service that is by definition open to every project promoter. It is on the basis of the selection made by CINEA, on the basis of the calls for proposals and which projects are not yet have not made it to the awards, but are promising in terms of and have ability to further improve in order to go to the next stage. So thank you, Zoran. And now we go to the next speaker, which is Catherine Bender. Catherine Bender is a Senior Finance Advisor in the Innovation Finance Advisory Division in the Operations Directorate of the Catherine, the floor is yours. May I ask you also to try to stick to your foreseen slot in order to give sufficient space for the other speakers and the Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. Thank you. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So my name is Catherine Bender. I am a senior financial advisor at the European Investment Bank. And before joining the advisory services department, I have worked several years in the front line lending teams of the EIB with a focus on Juncker Plan, so FC operations. So I am in particularly keen on making the link between advisory services and potential EIB financing. So this morning, I will take about 10 minutes to guide you through a financial advisory support instrument that is complementary to the innovation PDA that was just described by Zoran. Next slide, please. So what is this financial advisory support instrument? It's an instrument that is built on the ground of the NER 300 funding program that may be familiar to some of you. So it is a joint initiative of the EIB Group and the European Commission to support innovative low-carbon technologies, focusing on demonstration of environmentally safe carbon capture and storage and innovative renewable energy. This NER 300 Financial Advisory Support Facility provides support to project developers in order to strengthen the financial structure and overall soundness of the project. And to say it in simple words, this instrument is improving the bankability of your projects. And as I mentioned before, this NER 300 Financial Advisory Support is complementary to the Innovation Fund PDA. Next slide, please. Who could benefit from this advisory support? Basically, any project complying with the NER 300 eligibility criteria can benefit from this support, and to be eligible, your project must be in the field of innovative renewable energy, carbon capture, use and storage, smart energy systems, and energy storage. It must be innovative. The technology must be innovative in relation to others in the market. Your project should be mature enough to demonstrate some prospects of scalability. And your project will also have prospects for short, medium-term bankability. This means that you should have already in hand some kind of sound financial documentation, such as business plan, initial financial model, some financial perspectives, including some visibility on equity investors, a feasibility study, and offtake contracting strategy or agreement when feasible. Next slide, please. The type of support provided. So basically, the support is really financial advisory, so it doesn't include technical advisory case for the Innovation Fund PDA. And the type of financial support provided is really tailored to the project's needs. It can range from developing a business plan or financial plans or business case to providing recommendation on the financial structuring of your project. It can also be guiding you towards the right EU grant programs and, when feasible, preparing you for an EIB due diligence. So basically, the ultimate purpose of this advisory support is to improve the project's chances for financial closing and entry into operation. So as I mentioned before, is to improve the bankability of your project. Next slide, please. A few words on the process. This advisory support is available now and until the end of next year, end of 2022. For any candidate, the EIB will always double check with the Commission to confirm that the project is NER 300 eligible. We do estimate that around 60 projects could benefit from this NER 300 financial advisory support, and project beneficiaries will be supported on a first-come, first-served basis. In terms of contact, should you see any interest in such support, please free to contact me directly. My email is indicated on this slide. We are also developing an EIB webpage to show main features of this advisory support instrument. The webpage will also include the NER 300 financial advisory support pre-assessment questionnaire to guide you on which question we would ask to confirm eligibility. And we will be happy to share this the link with you as soon as the page is available. And maybe as a conclusion, I would stress that this financial advisory support is complementary to the Innovation Fund PDA. So I would say that any Innovation Fund applicants are welcome to come to us to ask for support, as long as they don't benefit from the Innovation Fund PDA already. And I would also stress that successful Innovation Fund applicants, meaning projects benefiting from the grants, are also welcome to come to us, because we may also be helpful to guide you through adequate EIB products to complement your financing tour de table. So on this note, I will remain available for any question at the end of the presentation, or also feel free to contact me directly through this email address to follow up on this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Very clear, and an invitation to the project promoters who are working on their projects that this service is open on a first-come, first-served basis, as in open now. So if you're ready to do so, the EIB is open to see you. And it is on a first-come, first-served basis, so the places are limited. Thank you, Catherine, for this nice overview of what you can provide as service. So then we go to the next speaker, and now we go to the level of a member state representative from Estonia, Kaia Trier. She is a partnership coordinator and EU Innovation Fund National Contact Point. Next to our collaboration with the EIB and with CINEA, also there is a strong collaboration with the member states, and the member states have an important role to play in the functioning of the Innovation Fund, potentially as co-financer of specific projects in their country, because the Innovation Fund is providing 60% of the financing gap, but also as a provider of services in terms of communication, information about the Innovation Fund. So we have national contact points in every member state. So to really spread the word, member states, and help applicants, the member states are very important. And of course, member states are also consulted in the overall evaluation process and informed about the progress of the program. So with this, I would be very interested to hear Kaya Trier to talk about her experiences and her work in the context of the Innovation Fund.
Thank you, Stefan, for the thorough intro. I will do it quickly. I will, in my 10-minute presentation, let's see how the slides work. Okay, sorry, I'm checking how I can move forward with the slides. Okay, Angela, it seems not working. So could you please? It's working. Thank you. So yes, in 10 minutes, I will walk you through of my national contact point. We say it in short NCP, National Contact Point. I will walk you through of my work with Innovation Fund promoters in Estonia. And yes, so first of all, why we do this? As mentioned, I work at the Environment and Investment Center, and we are implementing EU structural funds and national funds, but we also do awareness raising among project promoters on EU direct funds like Innovation Fund and LIFE program, for example. And we do this to raise awareness of potential and also possibilities. We started this work a year and a half ago from very scratch. What is the EU Innovation Fund? What opportunities it offers in local context? Then today we already we have reached the stage where we can also provide already some guidance through the process. I will later show you our model, how we work with potential project promoters. But today we are looking at helping to guide through critical aspects like technical, financial, and legal. But in future, we also would like to explore whether we can even contribute to the quality of the application. And then, of course, networking and creating synergies to build bridges between stakeholders in Innovation Fund context. So this is why we do this. And now to how we do this. So first of all, we have custom-made meetings with potential promoters, validating idea and scope, and also helping in orientation of program and call documents, because as you, the ones who have already looked into the documents, it is understandable why there are so many guidelines and they are necessary. But from my experience, the project promoters or potential applicants, they sometimes need support on the way to getting all into this before they have a consultancy company with them helping. So before they get to this decision to contract consultancy, they need someone to help them through the documentation. So this what the custom-made meetings also provide. Then we organize seminars, workshops. We have the mailing list. I will tell a little bit about that too. And then about my work, I'm coordinating all this above mentioned and keeping the target group informed and interested. So now a little bit more about custom-made meetings, as mentioned. So our aim is to offer one-stop shop for the potential promoter, and And we include also colleagues from other agencies, from Enterprise Estonia, for example, Estonian Research Council, who is supporting the Horizon program in Estonia. And of course, we also include the ministry representatives. So the custom-made meetings, it includes, depending on the project, it includes representatives from those organizations. And European Commission is at these meetings through the help desk. So prior to custom-made meeting and after, we communicate to Innovation Fund team through the help desk, and also sometimes when we need a validation or interpretation to questions, we then go to Innovation Fund team. Then how do potential applicants find us? So at information seminars, and on our website, and these are the main the contact points where they find us. So first step to this custom-made meeting is that we ask a one-pager or a pitch of the project planned. So this is important so that we know to include right people to this meeting. Then at the meeting, we are mapping the questions to understand whether the project fits to Innovation Fund, and then we are working on finding the answers. We go through the documentations and we submit questions to help desk. And then we are at the point where we can pre-assess whether the potential applicant should go further with the application or it should go into another fund. About the seminars a bit, this figure is of an online session last year. It was one of the first seminars we made, and this is just to illustrate that it's not only potential applicants or project promoters that are participating at these seminars. There are a lot of stakeholders, and when quoting my colleague, then it's the whole ecosystem we want to create around the Innovation Fund. And as you see, we also had representatives from consultation companies, and we find that it's important also to work with them, and we try to involve them. So, for example, at these seminars, we involved them in breakout rooms where they facilitated the reflections in the breakout room session, because, yes, we think it's important to also grow their competencies and to encourage them to offer a service to work with Innovation Fund. Then, besides organizing seminars and workshops ourselves, we also attend at seminars organized by our partners. And so basically, instead of inviting target group to us, we go to target group. So here are some examples of the organizations, third sector organizations, professional associations whose events we attend and make just 20 minutes introduction of the Innovation Fund. Last year, we also attended the Greenest Summit. We did that together with a LIFE program and national contact points, and introduced the Innovation Fund there, where all the green tech companies attended and startups. And next week, we do the same. So we go also and meet physically potential applicants. And also very simple but very practical is the mailing list. So one what we do at the mailing list, or what I think at least is the value for potential applicants, is that we keep them informed regularly. So every time we receive announcements from CINEA, European Commission, we summarize them, translate into Estonian. Of course, it's clear everyone who is looking innovation understand English. There is so information that it's a value if it's in local language and summarized. And then who are we? Meet the team. It's me, and it's also a member state innovation fund expert group member. So we work together. But as explained in my earlier, we include, of course, experts from public sectors and policy officers. So depending on the projects, whether they need guidance on greenhouse gas calculations, innovation, planning instruments. So it's always including right people. And how do we measure our work? Because we get to do this national contact point work, we receive support from Minister of Environment. It's just technical assistance support, but we also have discussed how this work should be then measured. And today it's maybe too early to measure it in amount of submitted applications and successful projects, because it's only one call. But in future, maybe we can use this as a KPI. But today we are measuring of the database of innovation projects and stakeholders in Estonia. And also after our meetings, we use a net promoter score. So we really try also to measure our work. In Estonia, from the small scale call, and we didn't have any projects that went into the contract. But here's example of NER 3000 project in Estonia, verification project. And this project also, when it was under development, it was really close communication with the Minister of Environment, and finally the project turned successful, and it's functioning now. And yes, this is all from my side. So for those of you who today are in a position of potential project promoter, I hope you got ideas from me how to approach your state and support to ask. And for those of you member state representatives, I hope you got ideas of what to offer potential applicants. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaja. I think definitely a best practice on how a member state tries to promote and reach out to potential applicants in your own country. So very much appreciated that this is going this way. And interesting to see also the project on the NER 300 that is now up and running. Which brings us actually to the last speaker. I would say last but not least. But it's all about, of course, projects happening on the ground, and we have a speaker also of a successful applicant in the first call, on the small scale call, which is Emmanuel Abt, who is International Director for Waste Heat Recovery and CO2 Reduction. And before giving him the floor, I would also like to invite you still to send your questions on the Slido, because after this presentation, we will go into Q&A. Thank you.
Yes, you hear me? Is
Yes.
it okay? Yeah, good morning, everyone. My name is Emmanuel Abt, and I have been working for the Saint-Gobain Group for 27 years in the flat glass industry activity, in operational position for the most part. And I have been dealing with CO2 topics for the glass activity of the group for the last 2 years. And I am here today to share with you or to try to share with you one part of our experience concerning our project application in the Innovation Fund. First of all, I would like to warmly thank the European Commission for selecting our project for the Innovation Fund's small-scale call. And obviously, we are very proud to have the opportunity to present our project today. I will focus my presentation on 3 points. First, a quick presentation of the context within the group in Saint-Gobain. Then some details about our project, which is called BCP, which means batch and cullet preheating. And finally, a short summary of our perception of the Innovation Fund application. Scroll. Yes, the first slide to present the context and the Saint-Gobain Group. Saint-Gobain is a strong global group with a turnover of 38 billion euro. It is an older group founded 350 years ago, present in 70 countries with more than 150,000 employees. The group activity is mainly based on construction activity for 85%. The remaining 15% is based on industrial part. And you have in the right side some of the many activity of the group. In terms of strategy, the group wants to be the worldwide leader in light and sustainable construction, and is committed to carbon neutrality by 2050, which is a major pillar of our strategy. Another point I want to share with you regarding the group's carbon impact. If the activities require significant work to reduce their carbon footprint, we consider also that the product and solutions offered by Saint-Gobain represent an answer to reduce the carbon emissions. Indeed, through the product and solutions sold by Saint-Gobain, we consider that it is approximately 40 times more CO2 saved if we consider a period of 1 year of utilization of this product in comparison with the amount of CO2 emitted to produce these products. For the next slide, I want to share with you the current situation of the group. The global emission of the group in terms of Scope 1 and Scope 2 are around 11 million tons in 2017 and around 33 million tons if we consider the Scope 3. The group has defined an intermediate target to reach the carbon neutrality. So the group has defined a target for 2030, which is a minus 33% of the Scope 1 and Scope 2 emission based on the year 2017 and minus 16% if we consider the Scope 3 emission. And you can see here the different axes which can give us the improving of the emission. We have first the energy efficiency activity. We can speak about the less carbon intensive energy, also some action on raw material, some action on transport and carbon removal and product design formulation could be also some levers to reduce our impact. So I will slide to the details about the project, which is called BCP, Batch and Cullet Preheating. Just to begin, I want to say that glass activity in the group represent the largest share of the group's CO2 emissions. Glass activity represent around 30% of the emission of the group, and similar to the group's neutrality roadmap, glass industry has specific action to reduce the CO2 footprint. The three major axes are here: the energy efficiency first, with a different sub-action. For example, the energy consumption of the furnace, the waste heat recovery system in the different furnace, and our project is one of this waste heat recovery system. The second axis is the recycling with the recovery of a maximum of cullet. The cullet is the broken glass we reuse in the glass production. And the third axis is the development of renewable energy in our processes, like hydrogen, biogas combustion, or electrification, more electrification of our furnaces. If I go more in details in the process, here you can see a picture of the standard scenario of a float glass process, where we need to increase the temperature of the raw material at 1,600 degrees before the forming steps of the glass. And to do that, we use some facilities with a power of 40 megawatts and a capacity of 600 tons per day. And the CO2 emission coming from this process comes mainly from the energy consumed for 70% and from the raw material for 30%. Our project is located in Saint-Gobain Glass, France, in Aniche, in the north of France, and we will see just after the principle of the BCP project. Here we consider to set a preheater in the entrance of the furnace, and the principle consists of using a part of the fatal heat contained in the fumes from the furnace in order to heat the batch mixture. That means the raw material to produce the glass into the furnace. And with this increasing of the batch mixture, we expect to save 10% of the melting energy. That means around 7% of the CO2 emission in parallel. This project is the first industrial installation of a batch preheater in a float line process. So it is an energy-intensive industry decarbonization project, and we estimate the overall investment cost just over 7 million euros.
Emmanuel, if I can ask, speed up a bit, because we would like to have a few minutes for the Q&A.
Okay. To go further, so I will go in the experience for the application, for the Innovation Fund application. Here is some points about the submission phase, where we can consider that we we were in a simple configuration. Saint-Gobain has a large group for this project, don't need to put a consortium. So we have a simple financing structure with the Innovation Fund and the Saint-Gobain Fund. I want to say that the BCP project study was already well advanced before launching the submission phase, and it was a positive point. We need approximately 3 very intense months with different people to put this or to work on this submission phase. And we have had the support for a consultant. For the grant agreement preparation, I can say that it was a very structured reporting process and tool. That is a positive point. We have had a good collaboration with the CINEA team and especially with our project officer. And as we were the first or part of the first user of this program, we have had some debugging on the system. And to finish on the application, the learnings we can sum up here. So it is for us a good experience to better understand the other grant application system. As I said just before, we consider that we have had a good collaboration with the CINEA teams, and before to go to this submission, I think we need to fully understand the different aspects of the financial clause in particular, and to finish, we think that every project has its own chance. We were a little bit surprised to be granted for this project, but it is a good point. And that's all for me.
Mario, thank you for your presentation and your sharing your experience. Wish you all the best with the implementation of the project and the significant emission reductions that this can achieve. So this brings us at the end of the presentations. Thank you to the speakers. By the way, all presentations will be available on the CINEA event webpage. So if you want to look again at what was presented and the details of what was in the slides, they are fully public. So now we go to the Q&A. First of all, I would like to say that we have received a number of questions relating to the results of the first large-scale call. And there, I would like to say in general that the evaluation is ongoing and that the applicants will be informed about the results of the first stage of the first large-scale call in the second half of November, as was indeed planned and announced before. So now let's go to the questions. First question is, could you give an example of what you mean with components for the EU energy sector? A definition of component would be useful. Roman, I think this is the question for you.
Yes, thank you. A good question. So in the Innovation Fund, we are both covering the, let's say, full process, but also part of those processes or products. So for instance, in the energy sector, if you take an example of a solar power plant or a wind power plant, the Innovation Fund is able to cover and support production of parts of those power plants, whether it is blades, whether it is parts related to the solar power, or whether it is parts of the industrial processes like kilns and so on.
Thank you. could a consortium be formed exclusively by entities from one member states? I think the answer there is quite clear. That
yes, of
is
course.
possible. Yeah.
We have no requirement for international consortia. How the project's business is set up is entirely in the hands of the applicants.
Regarding NER 300 support, is this support also available for potential EU Innovation Fund applicants before applying to EU Innovation Fund to become fit for EU Innovation Fund application?
Yes, I may get this one.
Yes,
yes. No. So basically, I mean, the NER 300 financial advisory support is complementary to the Innovation Fund, but to be very transparent, the program is not there to prepare applicants for the Innovation Fund. However, the type of support we provide, for instance, working on the financial documentation, on the business plan, can be helpful then for an Innovation Fund application.
Thank you, Catherine. Have the PDA results been published for the small-scale projects, Roman?
No. I can also take that one, or Roman.
Yes, okay.
Okay, so
go ahead.
Yeah. So basically, for the small-scale projects, we have received the list from CINEA. We have processed that also in line what I explained in my presentation, like in the same manner like we did for the large-scale call. We sent our shortlist to the Commission, and what we are informed is that it's in the last stage of the Commission decision-making process, and we expect that to be published in the beginning of November. Immediately afterwards, we will start negotiations with selected projects, promoters, and we hope to sign advisory service agreements also for small-scale projects still this year, if it will be possible.
Indeed, we are in the final stages from the Commission side as well of processing these results. Then a question regarding raw materials for batteries have to be mined in Europe, but mining isn't included in the ETS. Is this excluding them because they are not in the ETS, and can the refining part be funded?
Mm-hmm. Yes, a good question. Mining activities themselves are not covered by the Innovation Fund. However, since we are following the life cycle approach in the projects under the Innovation Fund, if you have, let's say, a battery production facility, and under the LCA, we are always comparing the project emissions with the reference emissions. So what would be the reference product without the Innovation Fund project? If in this comparison, in the upstream step, there is a saving of greenhouse gas emissions, this could be included as additional or other greenhouse gas emissions in the calculation.
Thank you. The next question, Roman, I think this is also for you. As CINEA is coordinating the evaluation, what do you consider the reason for all eligible projects in ocean energy not to get support?
It's difficult to say a general answer to such question, because every project is assessed on its own merits. Normally, the issues why projects didn't make it through were related to most of the projects, in fact, to their maturity, and whether this was implementation or financial maturity. And this may also include the ocean energy projects.
Thank you. Regarding the last two questions, I think I can answer them myself because this is in the hands of the Commission. The next call for large-scale projects will actually be launched on the 26th of October, so next week. And the next call for small-scale projects is foreseen for March next year. The next large-scale call will be a single stage call. So we are foreseeing that based on the experience that we have and the lessons learned from the first stage call, from the first large-scale call, that we can manage with a single stage call. So that will also enable to go faster and a smoother operation, I believe. So I see no further questions. So with this, I first of all would like to thank the presenters and for very informative presentations. Perhaps it's useful to remind the next steps for the participants in the session. Like I mentioned, next week on the 26th of October, the next large-scale call will be launched. On the 4th of November, there will be an event, a side event in COP26 in Glasgow, where there will be also the signature of the grant agreement on the first small-scale projects. And in relation to the launch of the second large-scale call, there will also be on the 10th of November a webinar to explain the process of this second large-scale call. So a number of events are coming, and we are, of course, hoping that project promoters and investors who have innovative projects that are mature enough to go to the Innovation Fund or submitting. I think this session has demonstrated that Europe and the Innovation Fund is in business with a very wide range of technologies across Europe. So we hope that we will be able to continue that in the future. So with that, I would like to thank the speakers once again. I would also like to thank the team who has organized it. Roxana, Agatha, Angelo, thank you very much for organizing the session very smoothly, and hope to see you all soon. Thank you.